Hello, bonjour, and welcome to your new Alti Wine Exchange video. This wine channel where we explore and explain and taste together the wonderful world of fine and rare wine. This is episode number 2 of our series exploring the wonders of Italy when it comes to vino. We're going to be touring the whole country, detailing every style and area, so make sure to stay tuned to the channel. After our last episode where we looked at a few things you should know about Italian Bubblies in general, and we looked at more specifically Prosecco and Lambrusco. Today we're going to be digging into what may sound not that unique, the Moscato style, and find out why it is actually quite a remarkable Italian style of vino, of bubbly. After which we'll certainly look at what is a really unique style of Italian sparkling, the Italian sparkling gem, the Italian champagne, Franciacorta. To finish, we'll be talking about quite a few other lesser known sparkling wine styles from Italy that you've possibly never heard about. Let's go and dig right into it. I know, perhaps the name Moscato sounds a little ordinary to your ear, as it's probably now synonymous with cheap, or at least affordable, sweet sparkling wines with powerful and approachable flavors of white peach, orange blossom and honey. And I guess that's what it has become, somehow ordinary. But I would say, look at it the other way around. Sure, what originally started as an original Italian style of sparkling wine has now been copied globally, especially in the US, that also makes now Bubblies made from the Muscat grapes. They make it flow for cheap and they do call it Moscato. It's made to appeal to younger audiences that don't really like the vinous flavors of a true genuine wine, but they do enjoy the fruit-driven and sweet taste of Moscato. Pink Moscato was, and perhaps still is to this day, all the rage in the US. But I would argue that rather than diluting the quality of this unique Italian wine style, which I guess it does a little too, I'd say this success, precisely, is more of a demonstration of how good and crowd-pleasing this style really is. Muscat grapes, unlike more recent grapes such as even Cabernet Sauvignon itself, for example, that's only been around for a couple hundred years, Muscats have been around since immemorial times. Ancient Romans famously were fond of it because it's so good as a table grape in particular. Someone should say that the Italians did very well to keep this fragrant and approachable wine style alive until it finally reached global success and became a worldwide phenomenon over the past 20 years. Hat off to the Italians for this, because no one else had done that. And now it's copied from Australia to the US and South America through France and Spain. Everywhere. Sure, Moscato is made using the tank method and essentially tastes more like grape juice than wine. We would agree on this, but it can and probably must be appreciated for this exact reason, with the advantage of being quite low in alcohol, which is a bonus these days, alright? Although, watch your calories when it comes to sugar, because Moscato does contain a lot. Of course, in Italy, the most iconic Moscatos come from the area that is called Asti in Piedmont to the north of the country, the famous Moscato d'Asti, which has a DOCG level, very high level in the classification, although smaller nearby regions make some as well, like in the provinces of Alessandria and Cuneo. Look out for smaller producers though for this type of wine. They will have more character. What's also quite specific there is that they make their Moscato with a grape that is called Muscat à petits grains, yes, or Moscato Giallo as they call it in Italian, which is a grape that has small berries. That's where the French name comes from. And that small berried grape is very fragrant, more fragrant in fact than the Alexandria Muscat, which has huge berries. So a positive efforts by the Italians to use this grape that takes more effort to grow to make wine, but for better fragrance and quality, because those smaller berries have more fragrance, they have more skins, therefore more fragrance. It's harder to grow them because they produce less juice but better quality. So well done on the Italians for that. Because it's not the case everywhere. Don't disregard Moscato. It has a place in the world of wine, if you ask me. But anyhow, let's talk about arguably the finest sparkling wine style in Italy now. If you've never heard of Franciacorta before, well, you'll definitely be smarter tonight than you were going to bed last night. Okay, Franciacorta is a relatively small area of production located to the north central part of Italy in the region called Lombardia, near the city of Brescia. It's also a relatively recent wine area in terms of reputation compared to Champagne. It's only really started to be noticed outside of its local area in the 1960s and 1970s, and even today all Italians know about the Franciacorta and how good those wines are, but not that many people know about it outside of Italy. But from now on, you will too. So what's special here in Franciacorta? Number one, they make wine using the traditional method, re-fermenting the wine in bottle, just like in Champagne, which is rare in Italy. Number two, they use mainly Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, arguably the best grapes to make sparkling wine around the world, just like in Champagne. Number three, the terroir is made from a morainic soil, meaning it was deposited by an ancient glacier. How cool is that? This means that the soil here is very specific, very mineral rich, and it's a very small limited patch of land, because that's where the glacier was, right? Warm days in summer to ripen the grapes, that's great, but very cool nights because of the altitude. We are near the mountains of the Alps there, remember? There's also some moderating effect from the nearby Iseo lake as well. So just a very specific microclimate with a specific soil on that specific spot. Reason number four, local winemakers pride themselves in making high-end wines and competing in quality with the French, the competitors, right? So a great attention to detail, great terroir equals great wine, of course. They are quite expensive because high demand and small production means high price. I'd say they are a little richer than most champagnes. Oilier, more opulent perhaps, but very complex with great finesse as well, somewhat the finesse that there is in Champagne too. So worth having a taste at it if you come across one ever. For staple, reliably good winery names there, look out, but not only Ca del Bosco, Bella Vista, Cavalieri and La Montina. And finally, let's have a quick look all around the country of Italy for more obscure sparkling wines that we haven't talked about yet in this series, made from lesser known areas in Italy, lesser known for sparkling wines at least. Like Tuscany, it's known for other things, not for sparkling wine. Let's talk about those a little bit. Again, this is not necessarily very well known outside of Italy, but many say that the best examples of traditional method Bubblies in Italy are the ones made under the Trento DOC appellation in the Trentino Alto Adige region, to the very north of the country in the mountains of the Alps, right up the mountains this time. Cool climate and elevated altitude make for a rare but perfect spot also for making sparkling wine. You don't actually find fine sparkling wines made at such elevation very often around the world at all. That's the spot right here. The most famous producer there is called Ferrari. Indeed, extremely famous and illustrious wine producer in Italy, and no, it is not related to the car manufacturer. Just a wine producer, but just like the sports car manufacturer, this producer makes some of the finest wines in Italy. In Trento, let's quote other reputable wineries such as Mosa, Cesarini Sforza, Rotari, Letrari or Cavit. There is also a fun style of pink sparkling wine that is popular in Italy that we haven't mentioned yet, made from red grapes, just like Lambrusco that we talked about last week, in the Piedmont, around the area of Asti in fact. This is called Bracchetto d'Acqui. It's usually a little sweet, but delicately so, an intense reddish pink color, solid notes of red berries, really interesting to have in mind for an almost red sparkling rosé, finer than the Lambrusco we talked about. Finally, just to round up and complete our tour of all, or let's say most, sparkling wines made in Italy, I must say that there is other regions that are not in the north of the country, where all of the famous wine regions that we've talked about so far are. Other areas produce mainly Charmat or tank method simple wines. For example, from the center to the south, Abruzzo, Tuscany, Basilicata, but mainly Puglia to the very south. Some producers even in Sicily make some good bubblies, with of course the famous winery called Donna Fugata that has made a name for itself also in the sparkling wine world, thanks to making fine, vintage, traditional method or metodo classico bubblies, both white and rosé, from Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. Also down there in Sicily we could talk about, for another example, Planeta, a popular producer of this area that makes a nice sparkling wine with 100% local Carricante Sicilian grape. As always, and I hope I've demonstrated this, there's wonders in every corner of Italy, too many not to miss any. Of course, too many to mention them all. But I'll leave it here for today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode that rounds up our complete tour of all sparkling wines from Italy. If you've missed episode 1, make sure to check it out. I'll link to it right at the end, and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss any of the upcoming episodes about Italian wine, but we'll go way beyond as we go. We'll talk next about the Italian white wines before moving on to what I'm sure you're interested in as well, the red wines from Italy, but we'll cover also the dessert wines as well later on. We do things well here, we go complete on the Alti Wine Exchange channel. I will see you soon in the wonderful world of beautiful Italian wine. Au revoir, arrivederci.